I never really thought I'd be the guy to find out my wife was cheating on me, but here I am, writing this down because I need to get it off my chest. Her name's Jessica, and we've been together about 6 years now. When we first met, I genuinely thought she was the one, smart, funny, a little bitchy sometimes, but that's what I liked about her. She had this fire, this attitude that kept things exciting. But lately, something been off. I couldn't put my finger on it at first, but looking back now, I see all the signs. It started subtly. She'd get her phone, hide it when I walked into the room, and she'd always be quick to dismiss my questions about where she'd been or who she was talking to. She'd snap at me if I caught her in a lie, which happened more often than I care to admit. She'd have these vague excuses. I was just talking to my sister, or I was checking emails. But her phone was always locked, and she'd change the password without telling me, which was weird because she used to be open about that stuff. There was also her behavior around her friends. Jessica started hanging out with a new crowd, those artsy, bitchy types that always have some drama to stir up. She'd come home late, smelling different, with this fake-ass smile on her face. I'd ask her about it, and she'd blow up, telling me I was paranoid, insecure, that she was just having fun, that I needed to stop overreacting. I even found her deleting messages on social media, which was the biggest red flag right there, but I didn't want to jump to conclusions. Then came what I think was the real giveaway. I was cleaning my office one night, just trying to get some order in my life, when I noticed her laptop was left open. I saw the message thread from some guy named Ethan. Yeah, some dumbass name, but what caught my attention was how she was texting him late at night, talking about how much she missed him, how she couldn't wait to see him again. I saw the messages and my stomach dropped. I recognized the tone, flirty, intimate, full of that bullshit they used to cover for something else. Her reaction when I confronted her about it was immediate. She snapped at me, called me jealous and insecure, told me I was imagining things, that Ethan was just some coworker she shared ideas with about teleportation research. Yeah, that's her latest excuse, her matter transmission hypotheses. She's into this whole quantum tunneling transportation thing, claiming it's cutting-edge science. But I know better. I know she's been sneaking around, meeting up with someone she calls Ethan, probably during those late-night research sessions at some secret lab she's been hiding from me. I kept pushing her and she just got more defensive, spinning these elaborate lies about how I don't trust her, how I'm paranoid, that she's never done anything wrong. But I saw the way her eyes darted around, the way she avoided my gaze. It wasn't just some innocent mistake. I saw her, trembling a little, caught in her own web. That's when I knew for sure she's been cheating, and not just a little flirtation or emotional affair. She's been sleeping around, and her excuses about scientific breakthroughs are just cover stories. I can't lie, I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. I love her, or at least I thought I did. But this was something else. It's like she'd been hiding her betrayal in the very foundation of what we were trying to do, our research, our experiments, our shared dreams about this crazy teleportation technology. It's sickening to think I was investing so much time, so much trust, into someone who's been lying to my face the whole time. And the worst part, I wasn't even angry at her cheating. I was devastated because I realized I was just a fool for believing she cared, for believing in us. Now I'm sitting here writing all this down, wondering what the hell I should do next. Do I confront her again? Do I pack my bags and walk away? Or do I try to salvage what's left? Honestly, I'm so lost. All I know is I've never felt this betrayed in my life. I trusted her with everything, and now I see I was just a pawn in her game. I don't know if I'll ever be able to look at her the same way again. After discovering those messages, everything changed. I couldn't sleep that night, my mind racing in every direction. I kept replaying the moment I saw her hiding her phone, her quick, defensive reactions, the way she snapped at me like I was the crazy one. It was like a switch flipped inside me. I realized I'd been blind for a long time, making excuses, trying to hold on to something that wasn't there anymore. Honestly, I felt numb but also incredibly angry, a kind of rage that's hard to describe. It's the kind of anger that mixes with heartbreak and confusion, all at once. The next morning, I decided I needed to confront her again. I wasn't just going to let her brush this off. I called her at work, told her I needed a serious talk when she got home. She sounded annoyed, like I was bothering her, but I didn't care. When she walked through the door that evening, that bitchy smirk on her face like she had some trick up her sleeve, I was already boiling. I told her I knew about Ethan, the messages, the late nights. Her reaction. She rolled her eyes and told me I was making a big deal out of nothing. She said Ethan was just her colleague, someone she was collaborating with on these weird science experiments, and that I was just jealous and insecure. I couldn't take it anymore. I snapped. I told her I knew she'd been lying, that I saw everything, the messages, her evasions, the way she tried to hide her phone. I told her I knew she was cheating and I wanted to know the truth, plain and simple. I demanded she tell me what was really going on. And of course, she started with the typical bullshit, saying I was paranoid, that I was imagining things, that I was overreacting because I didn't understand her work. She even had the nerve to call me possessive, like I was the problem, not her, but I saw right through her. I could see her lips twitching, her eyes darting around, trying to formulate some lie that would make sense. She kept insisting that Ethan was just a friend, just a coworker, that I was overthinking things. Then she threw in some classic lines: "You're just insecure. You don't trust me. It's not what you think." That's when I lost it. I told her that I didn't believe her anymore, that I knew she was lying, and I wanted her out of my house. She looked furious, but there was also this flicker of guilt behind her eyes. I could tell I'd hit a nerve. The fight escalated quickly. She started yelling, calling me possessive, controlling, making it all about how I was ruining her career or some bullshit like that. She threw her phone down on the table and told me I was crazy for suspecting her, like she was the victim in all this. That moment, I realized just how manipulative she could be. She's always been good at spinning stories, twisting things around to make herself look innocent, even when she's caught red-handed. It was sickening, honestly, but I wasn't going to be played anymore. I told her she needed to leave, that I wouldn't tolerate her lying in my house, and that I deserved better than some cheat sneaking around behind my back. That night, I felt a mix of relief and despair. Relief because I finally faced the truth, but despair because I knew our relationship was crumbling, maybe beyond repair. I started questioning everything. How long had she been lying? Did I even really know her? And the worst part, I couldn't shake the feeling that this betrayal was somehow tied to our research. Like maybe her cheating was connected to her secret experiments, her matter transmission theories she kept rambling about, like she was hiding something bigger than just a guy named Ethan. I spent the next few days trying to process everything. I couldn't focus at work, kept replaying every moment, every conversation, trying to find a clue I'd missed. I felt betrayed, stupid even for trusting her so blindly. Part of me wanted to confront her again, demand the truth, get some closure. The other part just wanted to forget, to erase her from my life and move on. But deep down, I knew I couldn't ignore what I found out. It's like this weight been pressing on my chest, making it hard to breathe. I never thought I'd be the kind of guy to catch his wife cheating, especially not over some secret laboratory, some sci-fi bullshit about teleportation and matter transmission. I guess I was naive, or maybe just in love enough not to see the cracks. Now I'm left sitting here, wondering what's next. I've started looking into her work, her research, and I realize it's more than just some crazy science. There's something about her experiments, the way she talks about transmitting matter across space, that feels wrong, like she's been hiding something she's afraid I'd find out. I honestly don't know if I want to fight for this marriage anymore, or just walk away and pretend I never knew. All I do know is I'm hurt, I'm angry, and I feel like I've been played for a fool. And somehow I think this betrayal goes way deeper than just some guy Ethan. It's like her entire world is built on lies, and I was just too blind to see it. After that explosive confrontation, I figured I needed to take a step back. I wasn't in any shape to make decisions right away. My head was pounding, my stomach was in knots, and honestly, I was feeling pretty damn lost. I didn't want to jump into some rash action. Instead, I started doing what I do best: digging. I've always been into researching things on my own, and I figured if Jessica was hiding something about her so-called matter transmission experiments, I might as well try to understand what that really was. Maybe I'd find something that explained her behavior, or better yet, something that could help me catch her in a lie again. I spent hours poring over her research files, online forums, papers she'd been working on, everything I could find about quantum tunneling and matter transmission. It was all so complex, so abstract, but I caught on to some of the jargon she used. I even looked into those labs she'd been sneaking off to. Turns out, she'd been attending this clandestine facility on the outskirts of town, some kind of private, highly secretive research lab. No wonder she was so cagey. No wonder she kept changing her stories whenever I asked about her work. I found some suspicious billing statements, emails from her boss about confidential projects, and even some GPS logs that tracked her late-night visits. What struck me most was the way her scientific cover story didn't match the reality I uncovered. She'd been going there after hours, sometimes into the early morning, spending hours locked inside some underground lab. I found a receipt from a local hardware store where she bought what looked like high-grade optical equipment, parts that could be used in some kind of experimental setup. I even found a few photos she accidentally left on her phone, some blurry images of equipment, wires, and a strange glowing device that looked nothing like her usual work papers. It all pointed to one thing: she wasn't just working on teleportation theories. She was actively conducting some kind of secret experiments, perhaps related to matter transmission. And from what I could tell, she was lying about everything. The more I learned, the more I realized this wasn't just about Ethan or some midlife affair. This was about her delving into dangerous, untested science that she was afraid I'd find out about. I thought about confronting her again, but honestly I wasn't sure what good it would do. The truth was staring me right in the face. She was involved in something she knew could blow up in her face, and I was just the guy she'd been using as a shield. The betrayal cut so deep because I saw now she'd been living this double life. Her scientific pursuits were a cover for her clandestine meetings, and probably her secret rendezvous with Ethan was just one part of it. It also hit me, her attitude. That bitchy attitude she's always had. It was her armor, her way of pretending she was the smartest person in the room, the one who knew everything. She'd brush off my concerns, laugh off my questions, and when I pressed her, she'd get defensive, even hostile. That's when I realized she'd been lying so much, so well, that she didn't even think about the consequences anymore. She just kept going, blind to how deep she was digging herself into a hole. I also thought about her in bed, her lying there with that smug smile, pretending everything was fine. I'd always known she was a little bitchy, but I never thought she'd be capable of this level of deception, of risking everything for some secret experiments. I couldn't help but wonder, was she really so obsessed with her scientific breakthroughs that she'd throw away everything for it? Our marriage, my trust, even her own integrity. The idea made me sick. I felt like I was fighting to save my own mind from unraveling. Every time I thought I had her figured out, she'd flip the script and come up with some new lie or excuse. Part of me wanted to confront her again, demand the full truth, but I knew deep down I might not get it. She's a master manipulator, and I'd be walking right into her trap. Instead, I decided I needed to prepare. I started documenting everything: screenshots of her messages, GPS logs, the research files I found online. I was gathering evidence. If I decided to end this, I wanted to make sure I had solid proof of her lies. And I also started thinking about how much I'd been naive, how I'd trusted her with everything, believing in her scientific ambitions, believing in our future. Turns out she was chasing her own obsession, probably risking her career and definitely risking our relationship just to keep her secret. I kept asking myself, what's really going on in that underground lab? Is she trying to develop some kind of teleportation device? Or is she just using the science as a cover for something darker? I don't know yet. All I know is, I've uncovered enough to see that my wife is the woman I thought she was. She's been living a lie, and I don't know if I can ever trust her again. The betrayal isn't just about Ethan anymore. It's about everything I believed in, everything I thought we had. And honestly, I don't know how to move forward from here. After all the digging, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was sitting on a powder keg. Every new piece of evidence I uncovered only confirmed what I'd suspected. Jessica wasn't just cheating. She was involved in something far more dangerous, something she was willing to lie and manipulate to keep hidden. I kept asking myself, what the hell is she really doing in that underground lab? One night, I decided I had to see it for myself. I couldn't just sit around and wait for some dramatic revelation to happen on its own. If she was hiding something, I had to confront her directly, or at least try to find out what was really going on. I waited until she was out at one of her research meetings, that fake excuse she'd been using, and I snuck into her home office. I knew the layout well enough from all the hours I'd spent looking at her files online. I quietly crept through the house, avoiding the cameras I'd discovered she installed everywhere, and got into her lab space. What I saw blew my mind. She'd set up a makeshift experimental area, wires everywhere, strange glowing devices. What looked like high-powered lasers pointed at some kind of containment chamber. I stared at it, feeling like I'd stepped into a science fiction movie. It was all so foreign, so intense. And then I spotted her notes, scribbled frantic calculations, diagrams of what looked like matter being transmitted across space, her own sketches of some kind of teleportation process. The details were dense, but I could tell she was close to something big, or at least she thought she was. That's when I realized that her obsession with her research wasn't just about scientific curiosity. It was about control, about proving she could do something no one else could, about being the smartest person in the room, even if it meant risking everything. I also found a hidden hard drive tucked away in a drawer, encrypted, password protected. I knew I shouldn't touch it, but I couldn't resist. I downloaded it onto my phone, just in case. I knew it was risky, but I needed proof, hard proof, if I wanted to stop her or if I even wanted to end this nightmare. The more I saw, the worse I felt. This wasn't just some hobby she picked up, it was dangerous. The kind of dangerous that could blow up in her face or worse, hurt someone else in the process. I wondered, was Ethan involved in all this? Was he helping her? Or was she doing this all alone, caught up in her own delusions of grandeur? I couldn't tell. All I knew was she'd been lying to me, hiding her true intentions behind a false scientific front. And I was furious, not just because she'd cheated, but because she was risking everything for her ego and her obsession. I sat there, watching her makeshift lab, feeling a mix of anger, heartbreak, and helplessness. I wanted to tear everything apart, to confront her right then and there, but I knew it wouldn't do any good. She was good at covering her tracks, and I didn't have enough evidence yet to make a move. So I decided to wait, to gather more proof and think about my next step. I also kept wondering, what if she's this close to actually accomplishing some breakthrough? What if she's on the verge of doing something irreversible? That thought scared me. What if her obsession with matter transmission wasn't just some crazy science project, but something more, something that could change everything or destroy it? I felt like I was losing control of my own life, caught in a web of lies and secrets I'd never seen coming. I kept asking myself, how did I not see this sooner? How did I miss all the signs? And how deep does her deception go? I started remembering the moments we used to share, innocent dinners, her teasing smile, her bitchy remarks. Now I see that beneath all that, she was hiding a whole different person. Someone willing to lie, cheat, and risk everything for her own twisted version of progress. It's like she's chasing some impossible dream, blind to the damage she's causing. And I'm the one left standing in the rubble, feeling betrayed, confused, and ultimately broken. Now I know I can't trust her anymore. Not really. Not after what I've seen, what I've uncovered. I don't even know if I want to stay married or just cut my losses and walk away. All I know is, I'm not going to let her use me as a pawn in her crazy science experiments anymore. I've got enough on my plate trying to process this mess. I just wish I knew what her endgame was, if she's really close to some breakthrough, or if she's just playing a dangerous game with her own sanity. Whatever the case, I feel like I've been played, and somehow, I need to find a way to get out of this before it's too late. The days that followed were a waking nightmare. I kept replaying everything I'd seen, every detail of her secret lab, every frantic scribble in her notes. Part of me wanted to confront her again, demand answers, but I knew better. She's a master at manipulation, and I was pretty sure if I barged into her with accusations, she'd just spin some bullshit to turn the tables. So I decided to be patient, gather more evidence, plan my next move carefully. Meanwhile, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was losing grip on my own mind. The betrayal cut so deep that I started questioning everything about our life together. Was I blind all these years? Did I ever really know her? Or was she just hiding who she truly was behind that bitchy, confident facade? The more I thought about her, the more I realized I'd only seen the surface. Behind her sharp tongue and attitude, there was this obsession, something darker, something she was willing to risk everything for. One night, I made a decision. I was going to go back into her secret lab, this time with a camera, some recording devices, and a plan. I had to see if I could catch her in the act, or at least get enough proof to force her to face the truth. I waited until she was out at some conference she'd claimed was about her latest research, and slipped out of the house. My heart was pounding, knowing the stakes were high. I had no idea what I'd find, but I knew I couldn't just keep pretending I didn't know what she was up to. Walking into that underground lab again, I was stunned at what I saw. She'd set up a new section, more wires, more glowing devices, and what looked like a small portal or a containment chamber. It was like a scene from a science fiction movie. I set up my camera discreetly and started recording everything. I needed proof, solid evidence of her activities. I also found some logs, files that detailed her experiments, her attempts at transmitting matter, her hope that she was close to some breakthrough. It was shocking to realize how far she'd gone, how deep into her obsession she was. As I watched her notes, I could see the desperation in her writing. She was close to something, I was sure of it. Maybe she thought she was on the verge of revolutionizing science, or maybe she was just chasing some impossible dream she refused to give up on. But whatever it was, I could see her reckless obsession, how she'd been risking everything, including her marriage, her reputation, and maybe even her sanity. All for what? Fame, power, or just some twisted idea that she could control matter itself. And then I saw something that made my blood run cold. She was working with that encrypted hard drive I found earlier, the one I thought was just her research files. But now I saw her transferring data from her experiments onto it quickly, as if she was trying to hide something. I recorded the whole thing. I knew I had enough to blow her cover wide open. I could finally show her that I wasn't some naive husband anymore. I was onto her, and I had the proof. The realization hit me. She wasn't just some scientist chasing her ambitions. She was dangerous. She'd been lying to me about everything, including her work, her late nights, her meetings. And I had to decide, do I confront her again with this new evidence, or do I just walk away and cut my losses? Part of me wanted to confront her head-on, to demand the truth face to face. But I was also scared she'd spin some new lie, or worse, that she'd get defensive and try to erase me from her life. I sat in that dark, underground lab for a long time, watching her move through her experiments, feeling a strange mixture of anger and sadness. She looked so committed, so obsessed, that I wondered if she'd lost sight of everything else, including us. I thought about how she'd always been so bitchy, so confident, but underneath that, she was fragile, desperate for some kind of validation. That's the part that hurt the most, knowing she risked everything for a shot at some breakthrough, even if it meant betraying everyone who cared about her. Now I realize that whatever she's after, it's bigger than just her ego or some scientific curiosity. It's an obsession that could ruin us all. And I'm left here, holding the evidence, knowing I can't just pretend I didn't see it. I don't know what I'll do next, whether I'll confront her or just walk away. But one thing's clear, I'll never see her the same way again. The woman I loved, the woman I trusted, has been hiding a darkness I never imagined. Something so dangerous, so reckless, that it could destroy everything. And I don't know if I can come back from this, or if I even want to. All I know is, I've uncovered enough to make me realize I need to get out before it's too late. The weight of everything hit me hard one evening when I finally decided to face her with what I had discovered. I sat her down in the living room, the evidence spread out in my mind, ready to be laid bare. She was calm at first, that bitchy smirk returning as she looked at me like I was the one overreacting. But I wasn't in the mood for her games anymore. I laid out everything: her secret lab, the encrypted files, her late-night experiments, the messages, the GPS logs, and the footage I'd covertly recorded. Watching her reaction as I told her I had all the proof was almost satisfying. She started to panic a little, her facade cracking. She tried to deny everything, spun some bullshit about her scientific work being misunderstood, about how Ethan was just a colleague, just someone helping her with her research. But I cut her off. I told her I knew she'd been lying all along, that her so-called breakthroughs were just a cover for some reckless obsession. I told her I was done trusting her, that her betrayal wasn't just about Ethan or her cheating. It was about her risking everything for her own ego, ignoring the fact that she was destroying what little we had left. Her bitchy attitude turned into outright anger. She yelled, called me insecure, controlling, paranoid. She accused me of ruining everything she tried to build. But I wasn't having it. I told her I was sick of her lies, sick of her manipulation, sick of her pretending she was some kind of scientific genius when all she was doing was playing with fire. I told her she needed to leave, that I didn't want her in my house anymore, not after all this betrayal. She stormed out, screaming, crying, calling me all sorts of names. And honestly, for the first time in my life, I felt a strange sense of relief. It was like I'd finally broken free from a poisonous web she'd spun around me. I knew I'd be okay, or at least I'd survive this. I started packing up her things, not because I wanted to punish her, but because I wanted her gone. I didn't want her shadow lingering over me, over my life anymore. In the days that followed, I took some time to reflect. I realized how deeply her obsession with her science had overtaken her, how she'd sacrificed her integrity and our relationship for some delusional idea of progress. I thought about how I'd been blind, how I'd trusted her for so long, even while she was secretly betraying me. But I also recognized that I deserved better, someone who wouldn't lie, cheat, or risk everything for some crazy experiment. As I sit here now, writing this story, I feel a mixture of sadness and liberation. Sad because I lost someone I thought I knew, someone I loved, but liberated because I'm finally free from the lies and manipulations. I learned a harsh lesson about trust, obsession, and the danger of blind faith in someone's ambitions. Whatever Jessica was chasing, some breakthrough in matter transmission or just her own ego, it wasn't worth destroying what we had. And I hope anyone reading this learns from my mistake. Be careful who you trust. Because sometimes, behind the bitchy attitude and confident facade, there's a darkness that can ruin everything you hold dear.